The title of this course is Differentiated Instruction, Principles, Categories, and Examples. In this course, the learning outcomes are set to be, number 1, understand the principles and categories of differentiated instructions, content, process, and product. Number 2, review the examples and resources in adventures in Japanese that can be used for differentiated instruction. Students in our classroom came from a variety of language and cultural backgrounds. They demonstrate varying ability levels with very different interests and learning styles, and they may have a diversity of learning profiles. Differentiated instructions is the strategy you implement to ensure each student has the supportive and suitable learning environment that allows them to reach their full potential in learning a new language. Differentiated instructions takes into consideration of individual strength, learning styles, needs, and preferences. We'll look at differentiated instructions in these aspects. Content, what students learn. Process, how students learn. Product, how students demonstrate learning. The goal of practicing differentiated instructions is to benefit all students. Adventures in Japanese offers differentiation in various ways. In content, the diverse materials provide rich resources for differentiated instructions. And the process and products, we provide specific suggestions of differentiated instructions in each of the lesson organizer. Here you can see below is an example of a teaching suggestions in a lesson organizer. You have it in each single lessons, and we offer suggestions for below level, advanced level, or heritage learners. AIJ 4th edition provides many options that make it easy for you to plan your lessons. In this chart, we organize the resources that offer multiple means of representation, actions and expression, and engagement. Many of them were designed to be applied purposefully and strategically to meet the specific need of different learning profiles. Let's look at some examples. The model sentences for grammar represent a new structure. Practicing the model sentence with your students help to establish a perception of the language. For students who learn well in actions and with expressions, they can practice and produce new vocabulary or language by providing their own authentic photos or images. To maintain students' engagement, pair work in communicative activities may encourage some learners to actively participate in conversation exchange. But some learners may be more engaged by working independently with a voice recording application or software. This is a lot of examples in this chart, but you can find a reference in the teacher's guide inside the professional development folder with a PDF file labeled differentiated instruction. In this presentation, we will also discuss 3 categories of differentiated instruction, as well as 2 categories of tips that are not so much differentiated instruction, but support teachers in providing thoughtful and tailored instructions in similar way. We are going to cover differentiation for students who need extra challenges, differentiation for students who need extra support, differentiation for students with physical disabilities, tips for unusual class sizes, and tips for creating a safe classroom atmosphere. First, let's look at students who need an extra challenge. We first look at heritage learner and strong, highly motivated learners. Heritage learners are generally those who have had exposure to the target language or cultures at home, where a non-English language is spoken. The heritage learner may speak or understand the target language and are to some degree bilingual in that language and in English. They may or may not be able to communicate fluently in the target language, but they likely have a more nuanced understanding of the target language in cultures than other students. Gifted, strong, and highly motivated learners have better ability to learn new languages. They are exposed to the same materials as other learners. Differentiated instructions can be carried out in many ways. In content, you can invite heritage learners to share personal life experience or history. You can give additional information to students who need extra challenge. In process, you can add an element of research. In products, you can offer the opportunity to support other students. We will share with you some examples of these highlighted points. For heritage learners, we suggest students write a culture note in Japanese about westernized Japanese lunches and dinners, as if in an English textbook for Japanese students. This example invites heritage learners to share personal lived experience or history. The example is taken from AIJ Level 1, Lesson 4, Lesson Organizer. In this example, heritage learners are asked to research and create a slideshow for a famous Japanese person and present new vocabulary to the classmates. These examples give additional information for heritage learners to expand their knowledge and skills. This example is taken from AIJ Level 2, Lesson 1, Lesson Organizer. In this example, advanced learners are asked to perform a skit and research at least 2 new expressions that have not been introduced in the lessons. These examples add an element of research, and the example is taken from AIJ Level 2, Lesson 4, Lesson Organizer. For both heritage and advanced level learners, they can make use of blank manga and apply their listening and writing skills to help other students to practice speaking and fill out the conversation bubbles in the manga. This example offers the opportunity for the heritage and advanced level students to support other learners. The resources is taken from Teacher's Guide, Level 3, manga file without text. Now, let us look at students who need extra support. We all understand the students who need extra support. They may have a degree of common learning disability, or they could be students that happen to be struggling. Incidentally, it has been shown that all students benefit from strategies implemented to help students with learning disabilities. Differentiated instructions can be carried out in these ways. In content, you can consider decrease the scope of a task, or you may skip challenge activities. In process, you can provide breakdown worksheets or cheat sheets, or allow for repeated input and deferring output. Even allow for more time for students to complete assigned tasks. In product, you can make use of those quizzes, exams, tests, project corners, or even use games to engage students who need extra support. We will share with you some examples in AIJs of these highlighted points. To apply the strategy of decreasing the scope of a task for content, cultural note activity may be a very good area. These examples ask students to record 3 or more street sounds. You may reduce the scope of the task or simplify the activity for students who need extra support. These examples is in AIJ Level 2, Lesson 3. For below-level learners, these suggestions we offer to you in the lesson organizers. We ask the students to create a photo book for their family with both Japanese and English translation. This is an example of deferring output, which allows students to use both Japanese and English translations. The example is taken from AIJ Level 2, Lesson 12, Lesson Organizer. In this example, below-level students are given more time for hiragana speed reading, as well as allowing for repeated input. The example is taken from AIJ Level 1, Lesson 2, Lesson Organizer. Allow for repeated input is important for students who need extra support. The audio playback hotspots in Fluency Link allow you to activate the audio easily. You can basically click on the audio hotspot button, and then an audio clip will open for you. If you plan to play the audio twice for your class, you may consider playing the audio 4 times for this group of students. Fluency Link also provides options of different playback speed. There is a little icons on the audio clip with 3 dots on it. You can click on that 3 dots, and it will allow you to select the playback speed. Different playback speed is available. You can choose slower speed or faster speed as needed. The audio playback speed options, it's included in the Fluency Link Students Edition and Teachers Edition. For students who happen to be struggling, looking at multiple pages of dialogue, text, and graphics can sometimes be overwhelming. The manga file on your right-hand side breaks down multiple page dialogues into single and focused mini dialogues on one page to display less information and students can focus on more manageable learning materials. This example, it's a good example for providing breakdown materials. And the dialogue and the lesson dialogues is taken from AIJ level 2, textbook page 90. And the manga files is in the teacher's resources in AIJ level 2, lesson 3. These examples ask below level students to select a Japanese food and describe to the class its flavor, appearance, ingredients without mentioning the name of the food. Classmates will be asked to guess what kind of food it is. It used game-like activities to engage the students who need extra support. Other games options like Kahoot can also be considered. This example is taken from AIJ level 3, lesson 5, lesson organizer. Now, let's look at students with physical disabilities. These students may have fine motor skills and general mobility issues. Differentiated instructions can be carried out by adjusting the activity to accommodate the mobility aid or to eliminate certain movements. In process, you can carefully select materials and print them on thicker papers. Or in products, you can ask them to type rather than handwriting. Or maybe you can make use of text-to-speech if needed. It will also be very helpful to remind your students to keep an inclusive attitude. The examples that I will share with you is to perform output with typing the answer rather than handwriting it. On AIJ level 2, page 45, students are asked to write his or her answers on a separated sheet of paper in a chart like this one below. Students should allow some students to type in their answers rather than handwriting it. There are PDF versions of the activity worksheet in the student resources in Fluency link that can be used on the computer or on an iPad. The following 2 tips are often helpful for differentiation purposes. Number 1, there's tips for larger classes often allow you to group weaker students in a way that allow you to give them more support, while strong students can work more independently. Some suggestions are smaller class. You can run team games as a whole class game. And you can allow for more class discussions. And it required more feedback from students on their classmates' work. If you happen to be in a larger class, you can run small group games in larger classes or use time limits and allow groups to interact with other groups. Secondly, tips for creating a safe classroom atmosphere. Not everyone is willing and feel comfortable to speak up or share personal information. It may be easier to allow students to talk about a makeup person or a third party that may help the students to reduce the anxiety. Preview polls can be helpful, and cold calling should always be avoided. The suggestions here is to assign jobs or roles based on students' needs and preferences. You can also minimize the use of class voting, as it can easily turn them into popularity contests. This concludes the course, and I'm going to review the 2 learning outcomes for this course. Number 1 is understanding the principles, categories of differentiated instructions, which are content, process, and products. Review examples and resources in AIJ that can be used for differentiated instructions. I hope you enjoy this course, and thank you for watching.